and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the Champions League clash between Barça and Bayern at the Allianz Arena on Tuesday evening. This is a highly anticipated clash in Group C, and we have spoken already about the history of this particular fixture. We've spoken about what it means, the importance of this game, especially when it comes to Barça. But now today, it is time indeed to discuss the tactics, how it's going to look out there on the field, these two coaches going head-to-head, and who is going to win the game for either team in this historic clash of two European titans. It is all coming up today. There is lots for us to discuss, and I really do hope that you're all going to enjoy it. It's a journey, and it's an exciting one, so let's get to it. Because indeed, coming into this clash, Julian Nagelsmann was speaking to the media where he openly admitted that Barça are not the same team that Bayern faced in last season's Champions League group stage. So they made several good signings, like, of course, Robert Lewandowski. They're a completely different team to the one that we faced last season. They're aggressive. They're going to defend high. And I expect a very tough game tomorrow. Bayern are not going to underestimate Barça here. Xavi also openly spoke about the fact that we have really progressed since 9 months ago. He said many things have changed, especially when it comes to our mentality. We have to go out to win on Tuesday. He said by keeping the ball and by pressuring our opponents. He said the signings have also really improved us, and our victories so far this season have given us real confidence. But if we do indeed begin here by talking about the potential lineup and the expected lineup that we could see from the hosts Bayern Munich, of course it's going to be Manuel Neuer in goal there. I think at right back it's certainly going to be Pavard, preferred there so far this season over Mazraoui, who of course Barça were heavily linked to back in the summer. At centre back, most likely we're going to see Matthias de Ligt. He is going to be the big summer signing, of course, slotting in at the heart of their defence, most likely alongside another big addition, not this summer of course, but a few seasons ago now, Lucas Hernandez, very expensive centre-back there, and somebody who has real quality, picked over Upamecano. At left-back, of course, somebody who we've known well over these past few seasons, Alphonso Davies, is lightning quick, and we will have to be on guard against him on Tuesday. In midfield, most likely we're going to see Sabitzer alongside Kimmich in midfield. Absolutely wonderful midfielder there, somebody who openly admits that growing up, he idolised the midfield that he saw and often watched many Barcelona games. And I think especially for Bayern, you are looking at those front four positions there. Out to the left-hand side, it's going to be Leroy Sané, again somebody who admitted that he would actually like to play one day for Barcelona. He spoke there back in 2016. Thomas Muller, the veteran, is going to be in that number 10 role just behind the striker. Out on the right-hand side, it's going to be interesting because Kingsley Coman, he's injured in this game. Obviously, Bayern have Serge Gnabry, another player who's been linked to Barça in the past. But I think here, potentially, Musiala is going to start on the right-hand side. Leading the line, though, it's going to be Sadio Mane, who's effectively replaced Robert Lewandowski. For Barca, though, of course, coming into this game, very big and very important decisions here that are going to be made by Xavi in this one. It is, of course, going to be Ter Stegen, who I feel will be playing with a point to prove here against German opposition. Then at right back comes the first big call for Xavi. You do have there the likes of Hector Bellerin brought in there on deadline day, started at the weekend. Sergio Roberto can play in that role, but I do think here it's going to be Jules Koundé. Since he's arrived at the club, he's played very well in that right-back role. And I think not only does he give you defensive solidity, but he's also been very good and provided several assists there going forward as well, which means then at centre-back alongside him, it's going to be a Ronald Araujo for sure. Big game for him at centre-back. And then alongside him, that's a big question too. Is it going to be Eric Garcia? Is it going to be Christensen? Or is it going to be the highly experienced PK? But of course, he hasn't really been in favour this season. And I think, to be honest, you're leaning towards Eric Garcia here right now. We're going to be talking a lot more in just a moment about this area of the field, but a big game that it would be for Eric. And then at left back too, big decision, big call for Xavi. Do you stick with the young Alejandro Balde, or do you go with somebody more experienced? Marcos Alonso is there. Jordi Alba, of course, he also hasn't really been in favour this season, but I do think it's all set up for Balde to continue in this team, and what a moment it would be to start in that role at the Allianz Arena. Into midfield, most likely it's going to be Busquets there starting in the holding role. He keeps his place in the team for this fixture that he's seen many times over the years, and we will need him to be somewhere near his best at the base of our midfield. Pedri, of course, is going to start. Massive player for Barça, but alongside him, is it going to be Xavi? Is it going to be Frenkie de Jong? Is it going to be Franck Kessié? Xavi has an abundance of options in midfield, but I do think here it's between Frenkie. Is it going to be Xavi? I think probably Xavi. He's going to get the nod here, and I think particularly because of that tenacity. You think of the way that he played against Sevilla away. When you're looking to hunt the ball down, when you're looking to put pressure on your opponents, Xavi spoke about that a lot today. Xavi is going to be that man who can really bring the fire in that role, and I do think it's interesting because there have been suggestions there in the media and indeed from some Barcelona fans just saying, well, maybe we could play four in midfield. Maybe we could add there another man, sacrifice a forward perhaps, play with only two up there and add an extra midfielder, maybe play Frenkie and Xavi together in that area. There's also been suggestions maybe Barca could line up with a back five, sacrificing a player in midfield or attack and sort of structuring our system around what Bayern are going to do. But what I would say about that, guys, is we don't want to hand the initiative to Bayern on this occasion. We don't want to here adapt our whole system around what they're going to do. We have to come in here and play to our strengths. And that is why I feel that Xavi has to, in this game, line up with our three forwards. We want Rafinha in the team. We want Dembele there. And we want Robert Lewandowski. Yes, we're going away from home. Yes, we're facing a difficult team. But this is a trio that can cause chaos to any defence in any stadium in the world, and that's why we play them. We have to be brave, we have to be bold, and Xavi has to really stand up and feel all of those things when picking this team. But that is how I feel we will line up. And I think this for me now is when it starts to get really fascinating and so intriguing when you're placing the two teams against each other, especially when you're considering the contrast there from Barca when we're having to defend to then Barca when we are looking to attack Bayern, and of course vice versa for what they are going to look to do too. Because first of all, the two areas that I would like to look at from Barca's point of view while defending are the full-back areas. Because if you start with the right-hand side there, from our point of view, you've got Jules Koundé up against Leroy Sané, who's been in brilliant form so far for Bayern this season. And then, of course, you've got the added threat, don't forget, of Alphonso Davies, who every single time that we come up against Bayern in recent seasons where they've hurt us, it's come through him. It's come through overloads on that left-hand side, attacking the space, getting in behind us. Bayern for sure can do that. But I think when you add Koundé into that situation, when you also factor in then that Araujo can go out to help, that is a big plus. And I think as well, when you factor in the different mentality of this team right now, and I'm talking there about Rafinha, whether he's on the right-hand side or whether it's Dembele, they are really working every second. When we don't have the ball, they are going to have to be attentive, they're going to have to close players down, they're going to have to track back, and I think they will, because Xavi right now has got this team all working for each other, all working hard, and I think that right-hand side is much more secure than in previous seasons, when we've come up against Bayern and when they have really targeted us down that side. The question, though, that I would have, and I think that everybody is going to have coming into this game is, well, okay, the right side may be better equipped, but what about the left? Can Barca's left side of defence stand up to the challenge? Because you've got Eric there, you've got Alejandro Balde. Now, these are two players who started the season wonderfully. They have been in top form so far. They have handled every single challenge that has been thrown at them, but this is something new. This is something that we haven't come up against yet, and can they handle that pressure? Because Musiala, he is a young player too, of course. That's going to be a really fascinating battle there, him going head-to-head with young Alejandro Balde. He caused us real problems at the Camp Nou in the group stage last season. That is going to be something to keep a very close eye on. And I think, of course, in all of this as well, you've got Thomas Muller to certainly keep an eye on, because he is somebody that whilst you're worrying about the wide areas, when you're worrying about Sané, when you're worrying about Musiala, when you're worrying about Mane, Muller is the kind of man who's just going to quietly there sneak into the space, who's going to quietly there just manoeuvre his way around that back line, pick up spaces, move in pockets, and really cause problems there. And that's what I mean when I say Busquets has to be at his best here. We need him to have one of those performances where he's ahead of the game, where he's thinking clearly, when he's getting to balls and sensing danger before the rest of them are even recognising what's happening. We need him to have one of those games. And I think the midfield is going to be absolutely key for Barca there, both in Pedri and indeed Xavi, particularly there when Bayern have the ball. We're going to be looking to close them down and shut things down at source. But one thing that I would say, guys, here, before we go on to talk about Barca in possession and what we can do and the threats that we have, is it's going to be very, very intriguing, I feel, in this game, if we just allow at times Bayern to have the ball. And I wouldn't be surprised if Barca actually do this at different periods in the game, whereby we say, okay, you can have it. You can have the ball, you can move your way up the field. I'm intrigued to see how high that Bayern line is going to go, how much of those Bayern centre-backs really going to step up, because I think Barca at times will allow them to do that, because if we can win the ball back, if we can then recover that ball in a dangerous area, watch the transition. Barca are going to be looking right throughout this game for a quick transition, turning the ball over and bang, finding our forwards as quickly as we possibly can. Very similar to the away game back in 2015 when we had Messi, Suarez, Neymar. It was get the ball to them, they can hurt you in behind, and they will go for you. That's what you have with Dembele. That's what you have there with Rafinha and Lewandowski as well. And I think those battles are going to be so intriguing there. I think Dembele is somebody who really can come alive in a game like this. Over the past few seasons, when we come up against Bayern, he hasn't really been physically ready. I don't think he's been mentally ready as well for this kind of challenge. But now for me, he's a different player. Whether it's on the left-hand side, whether it's going to be on the right, how often are him and Rafinha going to switch it up? How often is Rafinha going to pull out to the left-hand side, Dembele, with a quick change to the right? That's going to be fascinating to see. And then, of course, Robert Lewandowski, releasing him, getting balls into the area, making sure that we find him inside of Bayern's penalty area. And think about the motivation. Think about the burning desire inside of Lewandowski to hurt Bayern, to prove to them the mistake they made in letting him go. He will want to score in this game. He will want to deliver for his new team. And I think it's just a fascinating game. And I think the one thing that I would say here that's different, that's changed about the way that we're going to approach this game to what we have in previous seasons, we believe now. And I genuinely say that here, guys. I'm not saying definitely we're going to win, that there's no doubt at all that Barca are going to win this game, because football doesn't work that way. But I will say this. We feel as though now we are more prepared. We are ready to take on this occasion. We have the players that if we play at our best, we can hurt Bayern. We can go to the Allianz Arena and impose ourselves. And that's what we have to do. That is what each and every single one of us Barcelona fans want to see, with the quality that we have now, with the progress that we've made, and with Xavi at the helm. Let's do this. Let's stand up and win this game. So indeed, guys, that right there is the full lowdown on Barca against Bayern this coming Tuesday, and I cannot wait now. The game is approaching. It's getting near now. You can almost reach out and touch it and feel what it means. And I'm so excited to see how we take on this occasion, how we stand up amongst this pressure. Please do let me know what you're expecting, what you think it's going to look like there, the two teams coming up against each other, and how, in your opinion, can we hurt Bayern? And what do we have to do? What do we have to watch out for then without the ball as well? Please do let me know all of your thoughts down below, all of your expectations, and all that's left to say now is, I will see you after this game, when it's all been said and done, and hopefully at the end we can all have something to celebrate that we have waited such a long time for. Only time will tell now, and I will see you soon. Thank you for all of your support and all of your excitement leading up to this one. I will be back, and hopefully with good news. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.